Alright guys, so what we have here is a preamp pedal. Usually a preamp pedal, you would stick it into your return of your amp just to bypass the preamp on the actual amp. So what we're going to do today is I have a Fryette PS100 and we're going to go through the return of that. And we're also going to try it with the 5150 606 FX loop. We're going to go into the return of it, but we're also going to do a comparison of the actual amp just to get a feel of the difference between the amp and the preamp pedal and see if it's actually going to stand up to the 606. Let's do this. I got the settings all at pretty much noon except for the level, because this turn has my master volume, and that's good for amps that don't have a master volume, because whenever you stick anything into the return, it's just going to have one volume, and that's pretty much full blast. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've experienced. You stick it into the return and it's going to push the power amp as hard as it can. So it's good that this has a level control for that. So a few things about this. There's a mid switch here that will go into a really cut out kind of mid on the thrash mode, but then on the other setting to the left, it gives a lot more mids. This is going to be our tone, which is obviously to the left is going to be darker, and to the right it's going to be lighter. We have our gate. Which is cool about this gate is it actually coincides with the gain that you put into it. So if the threshold raises as you put up more gain to it. So that's what really cool about this. It's pretty intelligent with that. And then we also have our tight knob. So this is what basically this pedal is all about, tight metal. So this is going to make our tone tighter, meaning cutting that bass and making those chugs tighter. We're not going to go through the FX loop. You could put effects in the middle of this to make that run. That's a pretty cool thing about this. I am running a 9 volt. You can run a 18 volt in this as well. And I read in the manual that a 9 volt acts as a 50 watt just with the compression and all. And an 18 volt acts as a 100 watt. All right. And one more last thing. This battery thing, if you switch this on, it'll turn off your battery if you have this plugged up so you don't kill your battery. Okay? So let's check this out. All right. So let's see what this sounds like with the settings that it's at right now. Right now we're going through the power station, and we have the presence and depth midway. So let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, at this point, I kind of want a little more presence in this. I'm not even going to mess with the actual power amp settings. We're going to kind of stick to the actual pedal here. So let's go ahead and bring some that tone, bring some presence into that. There we go. At this point, it sounds pretty tight already. Let's go ahead and give it a little more gain. 3 o'clock with it. That sounds pretty good. Let's actually tighten it up some. We're going to bring that to 3 o'clock as well. That is definitely a workable tone right there. And this is just the pedal. Now we are using the Fryette, so it's, you know, just going straight to that, which is just a power amp. So let's play with these knobs a little bit more. Let's actually go ahead and go into thrash mode, right? Let's switch that on. Cool. It's pretty thrashy for sure. It did definitely scoop out the mids there. It's cool. Let's actually mess with the tone knob with that setting. That makes it really low sounding. That's probably where I'd want it right there. Let's go ahead. We're going to switch over to the 606 now. Let's go ahead and see what that sounds like for us, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and switch it out. All right, so now we're in the 606 and the return of it. Let's see what that sounds like. Now the presence is pushed up just a tad, but let's put it back there at noon. You can tell that that's my riff of the day, huh? I've been digging on that riff. All right, so that sounds pretty good. Let's go ahead and mess with the tone on this one, right? Sounds like I need it to be a little bit darker. Probably go even a little bit more darker. There we go. Let's go ahead and bring back some of the tightness. Make it thicker. Okay. I'm digging that. So now let's go ahead to the actual amp and push up some of the presence and see what that sounds like. Now that's what I'm talking about. That tone right there, I don't know if it's translating well onto the computer, but out here, this is what I'm digging. But one thing I'm not digging too much is the saturation level. It could stand to be a little bit clearer. It can get tight. Maybe let's go ahead and bring it back, the tightness to it. That does help, but the saturation's still pretty high. Let's bring the gain back. See, that's where I'm kind of losing it here. It's like, it feels like the saturation is just too present in there. It's still good. And now if you have a crappy amp, I would totally pick this preamp, stick it in the effects loop, and just bypass all that stuff. You would do great with just this. I don't see any problem with that. So, all right. I'm fairly happy with that. For a pedal, I've played a bunch of preamp pedals. This is probably the best one that I've played and gotten some good results out of it. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to play through the actual amp. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this pedal and go straight through to the amp so we can have a reference. And I'll probably take some of these clips and splice them together so they're close together and you can have a nice difference between them. So right now we're on the red channel and the gain is, let's put it back at around 9 o'clock, so 3 on here. And let's go ahead and just go noon with all this stuff, right? Okay, so let's see what this sounds like. See, there's that definition that I was talking about. Let's even go ahead and turn it up. There we go. So there's the difference of what I'm talking about. It's that saturation on the pedal. It feels like it was just too much, but for a pedal, it is great. I am impressed with it. You know, if you have a 5153 and a 606, there would be no reason to have a pedal like that. I even tried it in the front of the amp, and it just, preamp pedals, unless there's like an overdrive selection on it, it just doesn't do it for me. I would have to say the same thing about the Tightttt metal pedal by Amptweaker. It just in the front, it just has too much. Those preamp pedals just push too much volume and it just overloads the front end too quickly. So just to go through this amp a little bit more, just so you can have that reference. All right, let me know how you feel about that pedal. Go down in the comments, like, subscribe this channel, because I got more stuff coming up. I got more ideas, and y'all have a good day. Let me know what you think. DMD out.